start it off with the way I read it.
Yeah.
And then we'll end with the World Trigger.
Yeah.
But so the next day I sat down and I go, okay, I need something to do.
Yeah.
I need to read something. And so I just I opened up on my screen. I was like, okay, what do I read? I was like, okay. Well, the thing I've been putting in my backlog for the longest time is Shokugeki no Soma.
Yeah. It's finally time to push that out.
Because, I had that, I picked that up, a month ago, and I was like, okay, I'll read this.
Yeah, and then just...
You were telling me to watch it, but I was like, no, I'm going to read this.
Jay wanted you to watch it, too.
Yeah, but I was like, no, I'm going to read this.
I don't think Jay's even read it, has he? Did he just...
No, I think he just watched up to the end of the anime.
Yeah.
Which is very shame, because I saw where that anime ended, I was like, okay.
Yeah, the anime left on a... It was one of the ones that don't get a satisfying ending, which I'm okay with, though, because I'd rather they do that than... As much as I hate, manga bait anime and stuff...
You didn't want them to just make up an ending.
Exactly. It's not...
You didn't want them to just air gear it, or Mohori Sensei Negima.
Exactly, where they're just like, okay, we're gonna make up this dumb ending that just works. So...
Which, speaking about air gear, I was on Reddit earlier, and somebody goes, hey, I just read air gear, let's discuss it. And then a lot of people were just like, yeah, it's decent. And I was like, oh, man.
Maybe I will one day
gotta read air gear.
One day.
Probably within the next couple days.
You mean you get, 100 chapters in, and you're like, this is far enough.
No, so apparently it has a strong start, a weak middle, but a ridiculously bad strong ending.
Huh.
So I was like, okay.
I want to see that ending.
Well, okay. Well, I know about the 9/11 stuff and the Thanks Obama stuff, so I'm interested. I've been sitting there.
Yeah.
But, so Shokugeki no Soma.
Yeah, back to that.
Let's see, where do we start with this? Best way to say it is it's the weakest of the 3 manga that I read.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I don't love Shokugeki no Soma, but I find it incredibly fun. Whenever I read it or watch it, I feel like I'm totally having a good time, and I enjoy myself, but it's not something I, look forward to every week. And that was in the first season I ever watched of anime and stuff. This was one of the ones that was airing there, and I liked it, but and then I eventually finished it and picked up the manga, but it was not strong enough that I kept with it up until the end. There was a large amount of time where I just broke and didn't watch for a while until I finally picked it back up and just binge watched the rest of it.
Yeah, hey, dude, I'm sitting here. I'm like, well, I watched all of Lance and Mask, and there's all this other good anime sitting there.
Yeah.
That I've been putting off.
Just watch something good.
It has to be an upward slope, so the next one's Comet Lucifer.
Oh, God. Is it really an upward slope?
Apparently
Somewhat.
It's at least with Lance and Mask, everyone hates it, but with Comet Lucifer, people are masochistically liking that one, so...
Okay.
That seems like an upward slope.
A bit, at least.
But yes, for me, when I read it, I just kind of, I binged read that. I sat down, I read it in the span of 2 days, and I got through it. And I don't know. The thing is, coming from a more shonen-y background,
I don't
anime and
read
manga,
or watch, especially watch a lot of shonen. I don't do.
Yeah,
and reading a lot of shonen, the only real ones I've read are Prison School does it, battle shonens.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about battle.
Specifically, battle shonens. The only ones I've read are My Hero Academia, Shokugeki no Soma, and UQ Holder and Negima.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's it. I mean, I've read the first part of JoJo, and
which is the weakest part.
Yeah,
so.
And I guess you can count having. Well, it's not a manga, but I've read Index.
Well, yeah. And for me, I was coming from I'm a huge fan of One Piece.
Yeah.
I'm all caught up with One Piece. Huge fan of JoJo. Like I've read all of I'm all caught up with JoJo.
Yeah.
I've read I read like the first 100 chapters. I read the first bit of Bleach immediately, and then I dropped it when it got like after it like. Because there's a part in Bleach where it's good, and then immediately stopped reading before it got bad.
Yeah.
And then Naruto I read up until before... I watched that back when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I watched it all the way up until before Shippuden. So, and then Yuki Holder and Mori Sensei Negima.
Yeah.
So, coming from me, I know a lot of, like, the tropes, the predictable things, and stuff like that. And I'd have to say, like, Shokugeki no Soma is, for me, I didn't have as much enjoyment that probably you had with it. Because for me, I'm sitting there going like, I know what's gonna happen. There's nothing, like, I know for a fact that he's gonna do, like, he's just gonna do this effortlessly and win. Yeah. And he always does it. Effortlessly win.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, he kind of does. I don't know. There's, like, points where that doesn't quite happen. Like, I found the whole Megumi's challenge during the class trip was similarly... Like, that was one area where he definitely didn't just win.
Yeah, but that was a really predictable set of events. Because the issue with that is that they were playing for expulsion.
Yeah, and they're not going to get expelled.
And I think that's my main issue with this series.
Is how often they play for expulsion.
Yeah. And I feel like that's supposed to be a... I was talking to you about this. I don't feel any urgency or tension when it comes to any of these fights. And that's my main problem with it, is that there's no tension, no urgency for me to be like, oh man, I should be like on the edge of my seat wanting to know. Because when you play for expulsion, it's like they're not going to get him expelled.
Yeah.
And even if they lose, there's going to be a Deus Ex Machina that keeps them into this school. Because that's part of the plot.
Yeah. I mean, in that aspect, it's very... This is actually something I've wanted to ask you, and I haven't yet. How into the cooking aspect of it were you? Because that was one thing for me, is... I found the whole concept of the fact that they were just, like, having these food fights. I mean, this isn't the first time that's been done, obviously. There's, like, American shows that do that, too. Like, Top Chef and stuff, but...
Dude, my parents watch Hell's Kitchen. They watch MasterChef all the time.
Like, all that stuff.
And I sit there and I would watch that with them because I like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel... And the thing is, I like the cooking aspect.
Yeah.
But I only liked it in the beginning.
Huh.
Because the beginning, I went like, those are legitimate recipes that if I felt to give the 5 minutes of effort that I should be able to do this,
I could make
this.
Yeah.
But then when you get to the later on where it's like, what is this complex kind of like thing they're doing of like, they cooked it and then they put it into this and then they did this. I was like, I kind of dropped off from the cooking aspect as the series kept going on.
Andrew. Yo.
Dawson, you die or something?
My internet decided to die for a bit there.
Okay, well, this is going to be one hell of a way I'm going to be editing this.
Yeah,
but
anyway,
where did you last
pretty
hear
wonky.
What I said?
You were halfway through talking about the lack of abling to follow the later recipes.
Yeah. You're still recording stuff, right? Okay, so I'll try to listen into what you recorded later, but for all the listeners, the 0 listeners now listening to this, actually we get a lot of listeners more on the Podbean, but I'll rehash what I said because of the drop Skype call.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, continuing where I left off is, as the series went on, I kind of dropped off less because it was so many complex recipes that I was just like, too complex. And it kind of just glazed over it.
Yeah. Like, I got pretty into some of those later ones. Like, the whole beginning section I wasn't super into. Up until the point I started to like the show was around the class trip. And then I wasn't liking this I was more just liking the show because I liked the cast. And then once it got to the tournament, the fall elections, like the prelims for the elections and then the elections themselves, that was when I started getting really hyped for it.
So here's the thing with the elections. My main issue with that is that I've seen tournaments so many times in like manga and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the best way is I directly correlated that with the Negima tournament.
Yeah.
And because I literally went through that entire, like, after the prelims, when it went into the elections-ish part about it, I predicted almost every single fight outcome that happened, and, like, it was so obvious for me that I felt no tension in it.
Huh.
Like, cause, like, okay, you do the first fight with, what's her face? Alice and Souma.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh man, he's fighting Alice this early on." I was like, "Okay, he's obviously gonna win this."
Yeah. I knew he was gonna win that one.
There's no doubt in my mind that he's gonna win this fight.
Yeah.
And then then the next fight is like, what was the next fight? It was
Megumi versus. Was this Megumi's fight? What's the next one?
I think it was. Yeah, it was Megumi's fight versus the Curry guy.
No, it wasn't versus Curry guy. It was.
No, the Curry fight was the first one. She got eliminated.
Was it him against Curry guy? I thought it was her against.
No, because she gets eliminated round
dude.
1. No, she gets eliminated round 1.
Yeah, I know she gets eliminated round 1.
But she gets eliminated to the Curry guy.
Oh, I thought she was fighting.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
She was fighting
Alice's assistant.
The bandana guy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh man, I just shot myself in the foot there. Yeah, but that fight, I literally was like, okay, she's not gonna win this. Like, I knew for a fact she's not gonna win this, and she didn't. And I was like, okay, that easy.
Yeah.
Like I like, no tension there. She's not gonna win this. If she did win this, then I would have been more on board with the elections. But she didn't. No, even if she won it, then I would have been like, that's also predictable. The issue is, unless it was a straight up draw, which happens once, I would not have been able to predict the outcomes. And then when you go and then you go to the next fight, which is the Curry guy versus, who does he face off against?
I forget. Actually.
Who were the 8 people? I remember 7 of them. I don't remember 8.
Whoever it is, he wrecks them. If I recall.
Okay. Let's think of the elections. It was Souma, Alice's right hand. Oh no, it was the assistant.
Erina's assistant.
Yeah, Erina's assistant. I was like, okay, Kurgai's gonna win that.
Yeah.
Like she's the assistant.
She did that sweet kill a live turtle thing.
Yeah, that was sweet. And then we're like, this is the medical cooking. I was like, okay, that's
her medicinal cooking.
And then you go to the last fight, which is against Aldini and the big guy.
Yeah.
And when I watched that one, I was like, the minute he goes off, I'm your rival. I'll see you in the finals.
Yeah. That's
the equivalence in a tournament. That's the equivalent of saying, I am 2 weeks away from retirement.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, okay, he's going to lose.
Yeah.
He's going to lose. And then you go into the next matchup, which is, Souma versus the big guy. And I was like, okay, Souma has to win this one.
Yeah.
And he does. No surprise there.
Naturally.
And the way he wins was, that was pretty cool. Like, that was one of the fights that I really liked.
Yeah.
Because it was constantly changing. It's dynamic. It's moving. People are reading into the other opponent's move because I liked his style of, like, he's a copycat.
Yeah.
But he always one-ups them in a way.
Knows what they're going to do and then finds out how to do it one step better.
And I find that that's smart.
Yeah.
And I like that. because again, as I told you, that reminds me of early JoJo, or not early JoJo, like later JoJo.
Yeah, the mind games and everything.
Where it's like I keep bringing up this example of part 4, Josuke hitting the ground and then continuing the fight, and then like using his stand power to bring that ground back up when the opponent was standing in that area.
Yeah.
Because that's thinking like 5 moves ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you go into the next match, and then when it was the tie, I was like, okay, now I'm in.
Yeah. Now this gets hype.
Because it's like, that's not something I expected. That's some, like...
Yeah, pulling it from somewhere else. Yeah. I mean, for me too, the tie was the first thing in that tournament that really surprised me. Like, I could predict everything before that, and I kind of knew who was going to win already at the start of each fight.
It's really
decently obvious who's going to win.
The thing is, you don't know the matchups. Like, it's hard to predict the matchups. Yeah. But the minute you like
see the matchup, you're like, okay, this person.
This is a one-sided fight.
Yeah. But I don't know. I enjoyed most of those fights, regardless of knowing who was going to win. I just liked the play between the characters as they're like starting their matches and going between their matches, and I'm always interested to see like what dishes they're gonna throw out, because I feel like that's how the author likes to develop his characters, is instead of giving them actual development, he throws out, he like changes slightly how they do their dishes and what they learn from fighting other people, and like how they incorporate that into what they're making. I feel
like that's only Souma.
And no, it happens to Megumi too, definitely. It happens to... I feel like it's slowly happening to Arena right now.
Yeah.
It totally is happening to, what's-her-face? Meat Girl. Nikumi. Yeah. Like, that's happening a lot to her, too. Like, she changes her dishes up a lot after learning different things and stuff like that. And so I feel like that's his version of development. It's not as good as actual character development, but I still think it's a clever way for him to get stuff in, especially in with his style. We had a long
conversation about this over chat over the past when I was reading it, but my main gripe with this is that I feel that the focus on Souma is too much.
Yeah.
And that's my main issue with this, is I like the other characters way more, and I want them more developed.
Yeah.
But the author doesn't develop them as much as he does with Souma. It's always focused on Souma.
Yeah. Souma's not my favorite character in the whole thing, but I do enjoy Souma quite a bit, which is probably why I enjoy it so much. I barely know
anybody from the Polar Star dorm, like, save, like, 3 of them. Like, I wish there was more, like, for what this legendary dorm is supposed to have, I want to see more of these characters.
Yeah.
And we'd never really do.
This is true. I mean, okay, it's not a legendary dorm at this point. It, was a legendary dorm. It's got the whole no longer quite up to snuff thing going on.
I feel like, in my opinion, like, again, coming from a doujinshi writer to a shonen writer, there's a lot of...
Yeah, well, okay, the writer actually isn't from writing doujinshis. It's just the...
Okay.
The writers...
It's 2 different people?
There's the writer and the illustrator, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the same person.
No. Okay. It's not. They have 2 guys working on it together. Okay. Yeah, one guy does, like, all the food research and the writing for it, and the other guy does all the drawing for it. Yeah. And the guy who did the drawing used to draw doujinshis.
Which is very evident, because if you know doujinshis as well as probably me and you know, like, we know what the type of, like, character types are, like, the most preferable, and you see them in there.
Yeah, they definitely show up. It's pretty hilarious.
Like, the whole Nikumi thing is literally just like, okay, that's a holdover from doujinshi.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, the thing is, there's a lot of rookie mistakes, in my opinion, for a kind of a battle manga shonen that I see. And again, a lot of it is that it's not building up that secondary cast.
Yeah. I feel like he's starting to do that right now.
He's starting
not
to do that.
majorly doing it, but
I feel the story has progressed a little too fast
without
a lot of development.
Okay.
And that's why I said I like where it is now, because I'm enjoying a lot of more aspects of it now than I was like 50 chapters back.
Well, I really didn't like my least favorite part of the whole manga so far has actually been Soma's most recent fight with what's his face, Glasses Kun.
Yeah, that's where we defer, because that's my favorite fight.
I was just mad. I don't know. I wanted him to.
The thing is, the issue with that was, again, expulsion was on the line.
Yeah.
So that there was too much at stake for it not to go in Soma's favor.
I knew it was going to go in Soma's favor. Like, that was guaranteed, and I was fine with that. I just wanted it to happen in a different way than we'd seen before. Because I knew... There's, like, I like everything else that's going on right now. I like the fact that he's developing Arena. I like the fact that the dorm's all working together. I like the fact that
it seems the other characters
are being shown. Yeah, I also really liked the festival arc.
Like I told you that, like when it started going into the Dark Age of Cooking, I literally was like, you have potential here.
Exactly.
Do not drop this, because again, 6 out of 10 of the top 10 students, you know, they're the ones who voted for Aaron as that to be in it. You can easily have it where you have the other characters face off against a top 10.
Exactly. Which would be cool.
So I'm like, don't drop this, because you have so much in there that you could develop everybody in this.
Yeah. Oh, one scene I did really like I personally enjoyed a lot, was the couple chapters where the finalists from the elections were meeting the Elite 10. Like, where they're all just, like, sitting down at the table talking together for a bit. Like, I thought that was just, like, a hilarious section of, all the characters were totally shown off there in, like,
because it's introducing the next cast for the next part.
Yeah.
And I kind of dug that. But then, you know... Again, my main issue is just development of a secondary cast.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like from things like this, is development of a secondary cast.
Yeah. Yeah, Shokugeki's not perfect, but...
It's not perfect.
Still
that's
enjoy
why I said
it.
It's an enjoyable read. I could give it that. And I like where it is now, because when I told you, I'm like, I love the urgency. I love the tension.
Yeah.
I love, like... Because when you got to the Dark Age of Cooking, that's why I'm on the edge of my seat. And that's what I want from a battle show.
Yeah, is that setup.
I want you to make me sit on the edge of my seat wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And it succeeded in that, and that's why I'm going to keep reading it, because it succeeded.
It finally got to that point for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, one of the hypest moments, in my opinion, in One Piece is in the most recent arc, where literally there's a hype man counting down to the defeat of the main villain. Other characters are all like, if they mess up, they're all gonna die.
Yeah. And
they're all waiting for they're all stalling for time.
Yeah.
So you have urgency, you have tension, and then you it's a whole hype moment, and that's what I wanted, where in Shokugeki, in the most recent one, it's you have the urgency where they're literally fighting off the other people who are trying to destroy the dorm.
Yeah.
You have the tension where, hey, if he loses this, everything's lost.
Yeah, the entire dorm, not just him.
Yeah. And you feel it, and you feel that tension, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
And I want there's other things I'll bring up that I enjoy of battle shonens as we go on to the other ones. But that Shokugeki is, again, one of, like, in my opinion, which is really terrible. I went over the list of, like, battle shonens that I'm, like, reading right now.
Yeah.
And you have One Piece, you have UQ Holder,
yeah,
JoJo, now Shokugeki, World Trigger, now World Trigger, now
Hero Academia.
What's it called? Hero Academia. Now I have to consult my list.
Go back and check.
I'm not putting Berserk there because Berserk is not there.
Yeah.
Just making sure I didn't miss anything. One Punch.
Okay, One Punch is totally a seinen.
I know, but it's kind of a battle shonen in a way.
It's...
I'm putting it there.
Okay.
And Attack on Titan. I mean, Railgun too, but that's to a lesser extent.
That kind of doesn't count.
Yeah.
I feel like. It does, but it doesn't.
The issue is that I'm sure you won't agree with me because I'm a lot farther in a lot of the other series than you are.
Yeah.
Because I actually I've actually read a lot, like Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
I've read all of One Piece, JoJo, stuff like that. But in my opinion, like Shokugeki no Soma is probably one of the weaker battle
out
things that I've read.
Yeah.
Because again, you haven't read the Monster Association arc in
One Punch.
In One Punch.
Yeah.
You're not to where I got to in Attack on Titan, where they are right now. Like, where they are right now, I feel the tension and urgency with every chapter.
Yeah.
And you kind of get that as you go on, like, as it progresses. Like, where they are right now is a life or death situation, final battle. Like, they can't leave. They have to fight to the death here. And, like, that's what I'm enjoying from it. Same with other things as, like, One Piece, you know, there's a lot of tension there.
Yeah.
And again, with going to secondary casts too, where like JoJo is one of those where the secondary cast shines so much more in the later parts than in the first part, at least.
Yeah.
Like the fifth part alone is one of the best examples where I could say that the JoJo, who is supposed to be the main character, is not the focus, but everybody else.
Everybody else is.
Yeah. And so that's again, you will disagree with me on this. I know that.
I mean, I don't know about that. Like, I haven't... With me, the only, like, quote-unquote battle shonen that Shokugeki trumps for me is the first part of JoJo, because I haven't read any more JoJo. But, like, everything else I've read, I liked more. I just also really like Shokugeki.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I like where it's going, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, okay. But I have to say it's one of the weaker, like, series.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of rookie mistakes that are in that early first 100 that I feel drop the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Where other series succeeded in.
He's building up his style.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it all comes down. I really like the secondary cast. Yeah.